In the shadows of the 1920s Chicago, a New York guy with scars emerged from nothing, casting an indelible mark on the American crime scene. Alphonse Gabriel Capone, famously known as Al Capone, became synonymous with organized crime during the Prohibition era, leaving an enduring legacy that continues to captivate the imagination of generations. His life was littered with crime, violence, and power, making him one of the most enigmatic figures in the history of the American underworld. Let's look at some shocking facts about his life that made him tons of money and a terrible reputation in a very short time. This is the story of Al Capone. Born on January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York, Capone grew up in a modest immigrant family from Naples, Italy. His early life was marred by poverty, as he had 8 siblings, and there was always a mouth to feed. At school, you can say that he showed interest, but never liked the restrictive rules at the parochial Catholic school. But wait, don't all students hate rules? Not as much as Capone. At the age of 14, he hit a female teacher in the face and got expelled as a result. After leaving school, he tried his hands on a variety of odd jobs, as a candy store clerk, a bowling alley pinboy, a laborer in an ammunition plant, and a cutter in a bookbindery. Young Al displayed a knack for street smarts and an uncanny ability to navigate the world of organized crime, which would later on make him one of the most notorious gangsters New York had ever seen. Capone's rise to notoriety increased during the Prohibition era. What? It's a period from 1920 to 1933 marked by the nationwide ban on the production and sale of alcoholic beverages in America. Why? To reduce crime and corruption, improve health and hygiene, and solve social issues. Ha! The joke's on them, because this prohibition actually created a thriving black market for alcohol, giving rise to a network of underground bars, also known as speakeasies, and fueling the rise of organized crime groups that made booze availability possible. Al Capone seized this golden opportunity to carve out his niche in the criminal underworld and make money by illegal means. By the age of 26, Capone had become a prominent member of the notorious 5 Points gang in Manhattan because he was ruthless thanks to his upbringing in the tough streets of Brooklyn. It was during this time that he acquired the facial scars that would later contribute to his famous nickname, Scarface. How he got those marks is often disputed. Some suggest he earned them in a knife attack in a bar brawl, while others claim it was the result of an altercation with the sister of a woman he insulted. But whatever the cause, that facial feature added to his already charismatic demeanor. Liking the video so far? Please show us by clicking on that like button and subscribe for more informative videos. Thank you. Now let's continue. New York was only the birthplace of Al Capone's career. The real expansion of his criminal empire took place in the Windy City, Chicago. In 1919, he moved to Chicago, where he rose through the ranks of the South Side Italian mob. He eventually took control of the criminal syndicate, the Chicago Outfit, a criminal organization that was led by Johnny Torrio. Actually, it was Torrio who invited him to Chicago to join him in his not-so-legal activities. Capone's notoriety skyrocketed due to his strategic control of the illegal alcohol trade, an operation that spanned from illegal bars and smuggling. He would use bribery coupled with violence to keep the trade running smoothly. His intelligence and business acumen made him the undisputed center of the Chicago underworld. Capone's influence soon reached far beyond, and his empire expanded to include gambling, prostitution, and labor racketeering. By the mid-1920s, he was even called Public Enemy Number 1, cementing the myth of the untouchables around him. After all, who would dare touch you when you've got the law enforcement under your payroll? This term reflects the challenges authorities faced in prosecuting him, as witnesses often refused to testify, disappeared, or succumbed to intimidation. Al Capone's primary sources of income were all illegal activities and earned him a fortune. We are talking about at least $3 million a year, which today is between $60 to $100 million a year. Naturally, he could afford to have a lavish lifestyle. Al had a knack for dressing sharp and spent a lot on tailored three-piece suits, stylish hats, and flashy accessories. In 1927, he spent $401 on just neckties, which is more than $7,000 today. And in just 1 year, spent $3,715 for 23 suits, topcoats, and an overcoat. That's almost $66,000 in today's money. His taste for luxury extended to giving fancy presents as well. The lucky ones got diamond-encrusted gold buckles for Christmas, with love from Capone. He owned custom-built cars, notably a bulletproof 1928 Cadillac V8 town sedan, which is valued at $1 million today. The car was fitted with a hinged rear window that allowed passengers to shoot when required without having to leave the safety of the bulletproofing. Perfect custom fittings for a mob boss, right? Where there's crime, there's bound to be bloodshed, and Capone's life wasn't any different. One of the defining moments in Capone's criminal career occurred on February 14, 1929, in what would later be known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was a pure display of power, where Capone's men executed 7 members of a rival gang. The event sent shockwaves through the nation, prompting law enforcement agencies to intensify their efforts to bring Capone to justice. The photos of the victims really damaged his public image, and to clear it up, he donated to charities and sponsored a soup kitchen in Chicago. Good for him, because he managed to evade conviction, earning a reputation as a Teflon-coated criminal. How did that happen? Let's just say witnesses were nowhere to be seen when summoned. In the 1930s, the heat intensified on Capone, and his luck finally ran out. The Internal Revenue Service was after him, ultimately bringing him to trial on charges of tax evasion. Although he famously said, "They can't collect legal taxes from illegal money," he was still convicted in 1931 and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The once mighty crime boss, who had operated with impunity for years, found himself behind bars at the infamous U.S. prison, Alcatraz. He faced isolation and had to stitch shoe soles for 8 hours every day. But his punishments were a long time coming. At his peak, yearly revenues from all of his enterprises combined totaled over $100 million, and it is estimated that Al Capone was directly or indirectly involved in at least 200 murders. So that's how life was teaching him a well-earned lesson. Capone's imprisonment marked the end of an era for the Chicago outfit, as the group struggled to maintain its dominance in the absence of its charismatic leader. And the results of years of bad choices got him diagnosed with diseases like syphilis and gonorrhea. His health deteriorated during his time in Alcatraz, and one time he even got stabbed by another prison inmate, James C. Lucas. Jail time didn't do him any good, and his mental capabilities kept decreasing. He spent the last year of his Alcatraz sentence in the hospital section, confused and disoriented. His wife, Mae Josephine Coughlin, appealed to the court with his mental capabilities as basis and succeeded in getting him released on parole in 1939. Capone returned to his family in Florida, reduced to a mere shell of the powerful figure he once was. Some historians have the idea that even in prison, just a week before his release, he had enough power to have a lawyer called Edward J. O'Hare murdered because he was the reason Capone got convicted of tax evasion. O'Hare had previously worked with Capone in business and law, but later turned against him and gave crucial information to the IRS to solidify the tax evasion case against Capone. That was exactly the fate so many witnesses avoided when they failed to testify against him. Capone's health never got better, even after when he received treatment with penicillin after its mass production began. In 1946, he was said to have limited mental capacity, as much as a 12-year-old. On January 25, 1947, Al Capone, at the age of just 48, died as a result of a heart attack, marking the end of a chapter in American crime history. His death left behind a legacy that continues to captivate people. His life has even been dramatized many times in movies and TV productions. What do you think of Al Capone? Do you think he shaped the American crime history? Tell us in the comments.